Caitlin Clark has become the talk of the sports world recently, not just for her dazzling skills on the basketball court, but for a groundbreaking contract that has left WNBA players in a collective state of disbelief. Clark, known for her shooting prowess and flashy play, recently signed a record-breaking deal with a European basketball team, stirring up both admiration and outrage. To put it mildly, WNBA players were absolutely floored. But before we proceed further, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. Clark's move to Europe didn't just make headlines, it ruffled a lot of feathers in the WNBA, where players took to social media to vent their frustration. One might think that the excitement would come from the fact that women's basketball is growing globally, but nope, this wasn't about global growth. This was about a pay disparity that has lingered like an annoying fly at a barbecue. WNBA players have long been vocal about their relatively low salaries compared to other basketball leagues, and now Clark's contract brought that conversation roaring back to life. The whole situation is like a comedy of errors, except no one is laughing, at least not in the WNBA locker rooms. Imagine this: a young player like Clark, still fresh out of college, swoops into Europe and grabs a contract worth more than what most WNBA players earn in an entire season. And it's not like Clark was subtle about it either. As soon as the ink dried on the contract, social media was flooded with reactions from players who felt as if they'd been slapped across the face with a rolled-up paycheck. WNBA stars and role players alike had something to say, and none of it was particularly diplomatic. In a matter of days, Twitter turned into a battleground of discontent. WNBA players, who had been grinding out grueling seasons with long travel schedules and countless practices, saw Clark's deal as a wake-up call. For years, they've been advocating for better pay, and Clark's European payday felt like salt in a wound that was never really given the chance to heal. Players expressed how surreal it was to see a rookie earn a contract that could cover not just one but several WNBA seasons' worth of pay. What's particularly interesting is that the issue isn't about Clark herself. Most players have nothing but respect for her. She's a talent, no doubt about it. But Clark's lucrative deal in Europe hit like a sledgehammer, exposing how different the financial landscapes are between the two basketball worlds. For a league like the WNBA, which has seen substantial growth in viewership, social media engagement, and popularity, it stings to see that many of its biggest stars are still earning salaries that pale in comparison to their counterparts overseas. Caitlin Clark wasn't trying to ignite a firestorm, but her contract stirred up conversations about more than just basketball. It became a flashpoint for discussions on gender pay disparity and the limitations female athletes continue to face. It's like an ongoing debate that everyone thought was simmering down, only for someone to crank the heat back up, and the reactions were anything but measured. Some players responded with humor, sharing memes about having chosen the wrong league. Others took a more somber tone, expressing disappointment and calling for change in the league they love. For those who followed the WNBA, this backlash is not particularly shocking. Players have been vocal about paid issues for years. The average salary in the WNBA is around $130,000, with the maximum salary hovering in the range of $230,000. While it's certainly a decent paycheck, it pales in comparison to what men's league players make and even what many female players can earn overseas. In Europe and Asia, players often sign contracts worth hundreds of thousands, sometimes even breaking the $1 million mark. Clark's deal was simply the latest and most glaring example of that gap. Caitlin Clark's story is fascinating in its own right. Here's a player who set the college basketball world on fire with her scoring ability and swagger. She was shooting from the logo before it was cool, dropping dimes like a magician pulling rabbits out of a hat. Clark's highlight reel is a YouTube rabbit hole all by itself. But her move to Europe wasn't just about chasing highlights, it was about seizing an opportunity that was too good to pass up. And who could blame her? If someone hands you a golden ticket, you take it. Still, the timing couldn't have been worse, or maybe better, depending on your perspective. For WNBA players, it felt like the universe was rubbing salt in an old wound. For Caitlin Clark, it was a chance to secure her financial future and build her brand on a global stage. For WNBA fans, it was a mix of confusion, frustration, and grudging admiration. They watched as one of the most promising young players chose Europe over the league they've been supporting and advocating for, and it left many feeling conflicted. It didn't take long for sports media to jump in on the drama. Analysts broke down the financial aspects, laying out the numbers like an accountant explaining tax returns. But numbers can only tell part of the story. The real issue runs much deeper. It's not the value placed on women's basketball. the effort it takes to grow the game, and the disparity that persists despite years of progress. Caitlin Clark's move was a spotlight on all of those issues, and the glare was blinding. Some players took to Instagram live sessions to vent their frustration. They spoke candidly about the struggle of playing in the WNBA, the grind, and the lack of lucrative opportunities within the league. Listening to them was like being at a group therapy session, where everyone agreed on the problem, but no one had a clear answer. One player joked that she might need to start working at Starbucks in the off-season, only half joking as she stirred her coffee during the live session. It was a mix of dry humor and bitter reality, all wrapped in one uncomfortable package. Others, however, were more direct. They called out the league, the sponsors, and the broader system, arguing that they've been trying to sound the alarm for years. From their perspective, Clark's contract only underscored what they've been saying all along. There's money out there, but it's not making its way into their bank accounts, and the frustration was real. When you're giving it your all on the court, watching someone else get a bigger slice of the pie, just because they chose to play elsewhere, is a tough pill to swallow. The conversation quickly expanded beyond just the WNBA. Fans of the league were divided, with some feeling angry on behalf of the players and others seeing Clark's decision as a smart business move. Meanwhile, traditional sports media and even general news outlets ran stories on the situation, treating it as both a sports headline and a commentary on gender inequality in professional sports. It felt like everyone had an opinion, and no two were exactly the same. Yet, for all the uproar, there was still a sense of admiration toward Clark, albeit a begrudging one. WNBA players might be frustrated, but most of them respect the hustle. Caitlin Clark played the game, both literally and figuratively, and she played it well. It was like watching someone win at Monopoly by trading for Boardwalk and Park Place, while everyone else was stuck bickering over utilities. You couldn't really be mad at her. She just did what she needed to do. Despite the chaos, some people saw this as a potential turning point for the WNBA. There's been pressure on the league to increase salaries and provide more financial incentives for its players, and this very public backlash could accelerate that process. At least, that's what some optimists are hoping for. Others, however, fear that it could lead to more top talent opting to play overseas, creating a brain drain that the league can't afford. As the dust settles, one thing is clear. Caitlin Clark didn't just sign a contract. She signed up for a place in the ongoing conversation about women's sports and their financial limitations. For her, this was probably just another business decision, but for the WNBA and its players, it felt like the start of something bigger, a movement, a reckoning, or maybe just a chance to vent their frustrations to the world. WNBA players aren't known for holding back their opinions, and this was no different. The league is full of personalities, from vocal veterans to savvy rookies, and everyone seemed to have something to say about Clark's contract. One player sarcastically thanked Clark for showing them the light, while another joked about needing a side hustle to keep up. It was a combination of humor, exasperation, and anger, a toxic cocktail that couldn't be ignored. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content. We thrive on your feedback, so be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Until next time, keep discovering and stay tuned.